This is attorney Harold Respishow, and this is the Respishow. This is Friday night, April 30, 2021. Here at Respishow, you ask me legal questions and I will answer them. This is my best show yet because this is my first episode and I am joined by none other than Mr. Butch Valdes. How are you, sir?
Mabuti naman. Mabuti naman, Leslie. At I'm very happy, of course, na kasama na po natin dito si Attorney Harold Respicio. By the way, the Harold there is spelled only with one A, no? Harold Respicio. At he is my personal friend, and I can vouch for his expertise in practically anything that we can throw at him in as far as legal concerns, legal matters are concerned. Na? Ngayon, kanya po natin, sasabihin ko lang kung bakit tayo mag-uumpisa dito. Sure. No? I am very happy, at least here in Katipunan, Katipunan channel, na nagkausap kami ni Attorney Respishow, ni Harold, at we agreed that there is a need for a slightly different approach when we're talking legal matters. No? Dito sa mga iba-ibang mga radio shows at meron po tayo palaging parang public service, no? At magtatanong yung mga tumatawag tungkol dun sa kaso nila o yung problema nila, kung ano yung gagawin, paano dadalhin sa mga korte at ganyan. Hindi naman tayo lilihis masyado dyan, pero dadagdagan pa natin ng konti pang pag-uunawa kung how the legal system really works. No? This is what I have sorely missed. Whenever I listen to these shows hosted by different lawyers, kung minsan po, hindi napapaliwanag kung ano yung proseso na kinakailangan sundan, no? At ano ba yung struktura na nandito tayo na ginagamit, at kung minsan hindi siyempre naiintindihan ng ating mga mamamayan kung paano nilang papasukan, di ba? O kaya paano nilang hanapan ng solusyon yung kanilang mga suliranin. No? At we're happy, of course, nandito si Harold that he is going to share with us much of what he knows. No? But let me.
I hope there's a lot that I know, Butch, and I'm honored that you chose me.
Yeah, well, first of all, how old are you, Harold?
I always say the truth, and I'm 33. But people think that I'm much. I don't know how old am I to you?
Well, obviously you're old enough to be able to talk as an expert, no? And I consider him as one. No?
I try to be.
At gusto ko lang sabihin yun, dahil nakikita niyo po, no? Bata siya, no? At bakit maraming alam at bakit marunong, no? Makikita po natin sa ating as we go along the show. This is the maiden show, kanya pagbigyan nyo lang kami kung paano, kung minsan nangangapa kami sa system with our technicians, no? Pero nevertheless, we'll do the best we can. Harold, let me throw the first pitch. No?
Go ahead, I'll catch it.
Okay. Ngayon, why is it that first of all, ano ba ang proseso mo na? Can you define the general process? How is a court structured? Sinong namumuno? Paano yan pababa? No? At ano yung mga role ng mga abogado? Paano sila nag-uumpisa sa mga kaso?
Oh my gosh. What the first question?
Oo.
You
Yan
might as
muna.
well have asked me about the structure of the government.
Yan.
Alright. Legal procedures, meron yan sa lahat ng agency ng Pilipinas. Natutunan ninyo noon na merong tatlong branches ng government. Merong judicial, merong legislative, and then merong executive. Pinaka-basic, di ba, dapat sa judicial yung kaso-kaso. So, kaso, civil, criminal sa judicial. Pero naririnig ninyo, may mga nagsasampa rin ng kaso sa executive. Pansin mo kapag nagsasampa ng labor case, pupunta muna sa National Labor Relations Commission. Meron din kapag magsasampa ka ng mga lisensya ng mga professional, pupunta ka ng PRC.
Ano yung PRC?
Sa Professional Regulations Commission.
Okay.
Kapag magsasampa ka ng kaso laban sa mga professional. So bakit?
Pag may, ano bang professionals? Yung mga abogado, mga
Well, except abogado. Except abogado.
Except abogado.
Yeah.
Accountant, no? Mga engineers, yung mga ganyan. Yung mga kumukuha ng mga ano to, yung examination, board examination, doon ba sila na nauulog as professionals?
Kung ang gusto mong gawin ay mapanagot sila sa board nila. Kung baga gusto mo silang masuspinde, matanggalan ng lisensya, jurisdiction yon ng PRC, ng board nila sa PRC. Kung yun ang hiling mo. Pero kung ang hiling mo ay makakolekta ng pera, ang tawag yan civil case, punta ka sa ordinary court. Sa municipal trial court o sa regional trial court, kung saan ka nakatira o nakatira yung kalaban.
Therefore, yung isa, yung PRC, pag meron kang kinomplain dyan na inhinyero o arkitekto, no, na parang dinaya ka o ano, ang penalty na gagawin ng PRC is matanggalan ng lisensya.
Yun
ba?
Yun yung pinakamalupit. Pwede rin masuspindi lang o magbayad ng fine.
Aha.
Marami kang actually pwedeng ikaso sa engineer eh. Actually, yung tanong mo masasagot nito. So, saan ka pwedeng pumunta? Pwede akong magkaso sa civil courts. Ibig sabihin lang ng civil courts, ang masisingin mo doon, kailangan mo ng damages. Ibig sabihin lang yan, pera. So, gusto mo ng, mabayaran ka dahil sa negligence niya. So, lalapit ako doon dahil mali ang gawa niya, hindi niya sinunod yung kontrata, kaya nanghihingi ka ng danyos, pera. Ngayon, kung gusto mo siyang mapakulong o magbayad ng fine, ang tawag dyan, kapag may penalty, ang tawag dyan, krimen yan. Criminal offense. So, saan ka pupunta? Pupunta ka rin sa korte eventually, pero dadaan ka muna sa fiscal o sa provincial, sa prosecutor. Para sa mga kaso na medyo mataas. So, dadaan ka muna sa kanila, and then yung fiscal ang magre-represent sa'yo sa criminal court. Yun, ordinary court rin yun. Kapareho lang yun ng civil court. So far, meron na tayong dalawang remedyo. Civil court para sa pera, criminal court para sa criminal accountability, pagkakakulong o fine. Yung isa is sa PRC. Ano naman tawag doon? Administrative accountability. Para mawala siya ng lisensya o masuspinde. Yun. Kapag tinanong ka, kapag meron kang isang problema at meron kang gustong kasuhan, parating may tatlong sagot. Civil, criminal, at administrative. Depende kung anong gusto mong lumabas, doon ka magsasampa ng kaso.
Bigyan mo kami ng magandang topic ito kasi ano bang isang ehemplo ng civil, ano yung isa criminal, tsaka yung isa administrative.
Isang example dyan is medical malpractice case.
Sa doktor.
Doktor. Halimbawa, pumunta ka sa isang cosmetic clinic and then nagpaayos ka, halimbawa, ng yung chest para sa mga babae, nagpalaki ka. And then, nagkaroon ng infection. So, sobrang lala ng infection, kailangan tanggalin yung dalawang chest mo, bosom mo, breast. Siyempre, pinicturean mo na yan, grabe na yan eh, di ba? Hindi mo muna sinare sa Facebook para hindi mo na masiraan yung pangalan ng gumawa sa'yo kasi gusto mong makakolekta muna eh. Magiging gagawin mong bala yun. So, lumapit ka sa attorney, ano ba talagang pwede kong gawin dito? Hindi na ako mahal ng asawa ko, hindi na kami nagtatalik dahil dito ang pangit na ng itsura, nawalan ako ng moves, sobrang depressed ko na, hindi na talaga makapagtrabaho, ang daming nawala sa akin. Alright, anong sasabihin ng attorney sa'yo? Ano ang gusto mo? Gusto ko lahat. Anong lahat? Gusto ko makakolekta ng pera mula sa clinic, gusto ko mawalan ng lisensya yung doktor, and gusto rin ko siyang mapakulong o magbayad siya ng fine. Mapanagot siya criminally kung nagkamali siya. Pati na rin yung clinic, gusto ko mawalan ng lisensya. Okay, fine. Meron kang 4 na remedyo. Apat na remedyo. Kung gusto mo ng pera, magsampa ka ng civil case for collection, damages. Hingi ka ng pera sa injuries mo. Pangalawa, kung gusto mo mapanagot siya, magsasampa ka ng criminal negligence. Under sa revised penal code, magbabayad siya ng fine doon kapag convict siya doon. Pwede mo rin siyang kasuhan, yung doktor mismo, sa PRC para mawalan ng lisensya o masuspinde. At yung clinic o yung hospital, pwede mong sampahan ng kaso sa DOH para mawalan ng license. So, depende sa gusto mo, dun ka magsasampa ng kaso at pwede mo silang pagsabay-sabayin na sampahan kasi iba't iba ang nature ng kaso, iba't ibang relief. Pero syempre, bilang abogado, ang gagawin mo na niya, hindi mo na magsasampa ng kaso. Kasi iisipin mo yan, yung client mo, ang gusto niyan, primarily pera. So, medyo diniskartehan ng abogado yan, kakausapin mo na yung hospital, papadala ng formal demand letter para medyo formal, kakausapin, magmi-meeting, magdedemand ng malaking halaga, magne-negotiate, hanggang makakuha siya ng, syempre, sasabihin mo sa kalaban na ito ang repercussion. Sasampa kami, ito ang mga isasampa namin kaso, and besides that, baka i-post ng client ko sa Facebook media or may pag-usap sa media, masira ang pangalan mo, mawalan ka ng business. Legal ba yun? Siyempre, legal yun kasi legitimate naman na pwede niyang ilabas sa korte o sa mga kaibigan niya o sa publiko na ito ang naranasan niya. Pero hindi yun paninira. Pero, siyempre, yung kalaban mo na doktor at hospital or clinic, kakabahan siya. Maganda yun na leverage mo para bigyan ka ng medyo substantial na damages. Yung rightful lang naman.
Well, that's interesting, no? Pagkatapos, balik tayo doon sa structure, no?
Alright.
Doon sa structure.
Try na natin. Sige, go ahead. Structure. Okay. Structure. Sige, magsumila tayo sa executive, judicial, and then legislative. Punta muna tayo sa basic sa judicial kasi, okay, kaso, inisip na judge, kaso. Alright. Kung magsasampa ka ng kaso, tulad ng sabi ko, civil, kahit na ano, basta gusto mong may gawin yung isang tao, magbigay ng pera, may gusto kang gawin siya, dadaan ka talaga sa civil courts. Diretso yan sa korte, tapos judge. Right? Kung gusto mo na mapakulong ang isang tao, or magbayad siya ng fine, pupunta ka in general sa fiscal kapag matataas na kaso. And then yung fiscal, diba, people of the Philippines versus yung kalaban mo. Kasi yung fiscal, kakampi mo yan, executive department yan. Siya yung nagre-represent ng people, ikaw witness ka lang, complainant ka lang.
So pag may kinasuang kang kriminal, at sinampa mo sa fiscal, automatically, ang sinasabi mo, itong crime is that you're charging is against the people of the Philippines. Ganyan ba yun?
Tama.
At hindi laban sa persona mo, kundi laban sa people of the Philippines.
Yeah, primarily. Pero syempre, private complainant ka pa rin. In the end, during the proceedings, bibigyan ka pa rin ng danyos, ng pera. Kasi i-discuss din doon yung civil aspect ng criminal case. Pero kaya prosecutor at fiscal ang nagpo-prosecute ng case kasi primarily interest ng Pilipinas na panagutin ng mga kriminal. Okay, yun basically ang nasa judiciary. Okay? Punta tayo sa executive. Depende naman ulit kung anong gusto mo. Halimbawa, kung meron kang dispute sa developer mo, pupunta ka ng Housing and Land Regulatory Board. Iba ulit yun. Napaka-specialized ulit. Basta isipin ninyo, kapag may problema ka at merong nagre-regulate sa kalaban mo, dun ka lumapit. So, halimbawa, kung kalaban mo, doktor, lumapit ka sa PRC at, oy, tanggalan nyo ng license to. O pumunta ka sa HLURB kasi siya yung nagbibigay ng license sa condo, oy, tanggalan nyo ng license to. O kaya pumunta ka sa NLRC kasi nire-regulate ng Department of Labor ang employment. So, punta ka doon para kasuhan yung employer mo. More or less, meron silang jurisdiction sa civil aspect. Ibig sabihin, meron na rin silang jurisdiction na magbigay ng pera. Meron na silang primary jurisdiction doon. Kaya kahit pera ang gusto mo, kung minsan pwedeng doon mo na hilingin. Basta isipin niyo kapag meron kayong mga kaso at lalapit kayo sa abogado, isipin niyo baka magkamali yung abogado. Diretso niya sa civil court kung meron munang dapat remedyo sa administrative court.
Ano ang tawag dito sa mga ahensyang ito sa iba-ibang branch are regulatory agencies.
Yep.
Because sila ang parang nakabantay, sila nagre-regulate na lahat ng mga nandito sa ganitong klaseng trabaho, no, ay sumusunod sa batas, 'di ba?
Yun ang isang mukha nila, regulatory agency. Yun ang mandato ng batas sa kanila. I-regulate mo tong industry na to na sana maayos yung practice. Yung isang mukha nila, isang facet ng nature nila is quasi-judicial agency. Alright? Narinig nyo? Judicial. So, nagja-judge din sila. Quasi dahil hindi talaga sila judge. Ayon sa batas. So,
pero pwede silang mag-judge.
Nagsasampa ka ng kaso sa kanila. Kaya quasi-judicial agency din ang tawag sa kanila.
Ang ibig ba sabihin ng mga yan na kinakailangan pag nasa regulatory agency ka, kinakailangan abogado ka din?
Hindi naman siguro. Marami naman doon na secretary, undersecretary na hindi rin mga abogado. Pero it pays na may alam ka sa batas.
I see. Kasi sabi mo, pwede silang mag-husga at pwede din silang mag-impose ng penalties, no?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Invariably, yung mga arbiters na tinatawag, members ng board na nagde-decide, mga abogado sila.
I see. Karamihan, no? Kadalasan.
If not all of them.
So let's go back again dito sa structure, no? Ang sinabi mo, of course, executive, legislative, at judiciary. Alam na natin dito naumpisa na natin from the bottom going up tayo dito sa judiciary. Sa legislative, alam na natin yung mga yan, tigagawa ng batas. No? At wala kang
remedyo. Wala kang remedyo sa Congress. Sa mga congressman ninyo at sa mga senator ninyo, wala kayong remedyo. Pero kung minsan, maraming lumalapit sa akin. Dahil nagre-reklamo sila, bakit hindi nagre-reply sa sulat ko si senator ganito? Nagsulat akong ganito, nangako siya na magre-reply. Siyempre, mababait ang senator natin. Pagbibigyan kayo parati niyan. Pero huwag kayong magtampo kapag hindi sila nag-reply dahil hindi nila trabaho na i-resolve yung mga dispute ninyo. Lumapit kayo sa abogado at siya ang magsasabi sa inyo kung saan nyo dapat itulog yung mga complaints.
Kasi yung legislative, gumagawa po ng batas, hindi sila ang mag-uhusga. They don't judge on the validity of your case. They just make the laws. No?
Right.
So balik tayo ngayon. Kung walang legislative, ito na yung executive. Yung executive hanggang dito sa regulatory agencies. Above them, meron pa ba?
Meron, babalik ka sa judiciary.
Balik ka dito sa judiciary.
Yung judiciary na diniscuss ko kanina, yung mga lower level courts, yung regional trial court or municipal trial court, yung mga yon, and then may quasi-judicial ka, yung mga agency. Yun yung mga basic na nasa baba. Paano kung natalo ka? Saan ka pupunta? In general, lahat sila pupunta sa Court of Appeals. Lahat sila pupunta sa Court of Appeals. Yung Court of Appeals, part na yan ulit ng judiciary. Kasi essentially, kahit yung sa quasi-judicial functions, essentially judicial pa rin yan. Kaya dadaan ng Court of Appeals. Ultimately, kung ayaw mo pa rin sumuko, pumunta ka sa Supreme Court.
Dito sa Court of Appeals, the Court of Appeals is above the regional trial courts and the municipal. Ano ba yung municipal court at regional trial court?
Depende lang sa jurisdiction. Halimbawa, kung pumunta ka dito sa Makati, meron kang, asan po yung korte? Tatanungin ka ng nagpa-parking. Ano, regional trial court o MTC? Metropolitan Trial Court? Regional trial court. Kapag regional trial court, yung jurisdiction nila, mas mataas na mga kaso. Halimbawa, kung criminal case, medyo mabibigat yung mga penalties nila. Pero kapag sa MTC lang, Metropolitan Trial Court, yung mga magagaan like unjust vexation, punishable lang ng sobrang ikli, mga ilang buwan lang. Pero kapag murder, nasa regional trial court. Ganon din sa civil case. Kapag malaki yung kokolektahin mo, pupunta ka sa regional trial court. Kung mababa, sa Metropolitan Trial Court. And meron din tinatawag, kung gusto nyo malaman, small claims courts. Yun yung mga claim mo na pera, na simpleng-simple, madaling patunayan, diretsahan lang, pwede mong ilagay sa small claims court. Parang Metropolitan Trial Court din yun. Ang tawag lang sa kanya Small Claims Court kasi ang bilis ng kaso doon. Isang araw lang dapat pero nakaagad resolution yung case. Tapos na. Ang mga kaso na pwede mong idulog doon ay yung halimbawa, nag-utang meron akong promissory note sa'yo. Malinaw yun. Hindi mo kailangang patunayan. Lalapit lang ako doon, malinaw, hanggang 400,000 pesos. Tapos, isang araw, tapos na. Hindi mo kailangan ng abogado. Bawal nga ang abogado doon eh. Dapat mag-decide kagad yung judge kung sino sa inyo ang mananalo. Pero kung komplikado na yung case ninyo, kailangan na talaga ng legal argumentation, mahirap i-determine kung sino talaga ang may karapatan. Punta ka sa regular courts.
Noon, gusto ko lang dito sa sinasabi mong maliliit na korte. Dati meron akong napapanood sa television. Ito si Attorney Persida Acosta. At meron siyang parang, ito sa court, no? Tapos meron complainants. And right there, nadidesisyon na niya. Tapos may papatawan pa siya ng penalty dun sa lumabag, no? Recognize ba yun?
My opinion is, well, the general rule is, kaya tinawag na civilized tayo, kasi merong civil courts. Kasi lahat ng dispute natin, ang sumasagot dapat ay civil courts. So, alin yung civil courts? Yun yung may mga totoong judge. Kasi, judge lang ang pwedeng pumilit sa'yo. Judge lang ang pwedeng pilitin kang magbayad. O, para gawin ito. Para gawin yan. Judge lang ang makakagawa. Kung nagja-judge man, yung pagpupunta ka sa PAO ngayon, lalapit ka, may reklamo ka, itetake nila yung case mo as if nag-act sila ng judge. Maganda yon kasi tinutulungan kayong i-resolve yung kaso ninyo. Halimbawa, pumunta ka doon dahil hindi nagbibigay ng support yung asawa mo. May anak ka, nanay ka, biglang nawala yung asawa mo, so nagreklamo ka doon. So yung PAO officer, tatanggapin niya, kawawa ka naman. So padadala niya ng sulat yung tatay, tapos darating yung tatay, mag-uusap kayo. Huhusga rin yung PAO na yon at ilalagay niya na dapat magbigay, tapos pipirma kayo.
Pwedeng maghusga ang PAO doon.
Hindi yun husga, technically. More of mediation and conciliation yon. Pero parang napilit ka na rin eh. Napilit ka na rin kasi sinagay niya. Nung nag-uusap kayo, ng PAO, wow, judge pala to. Tapos sinabi niya, pinapirma ka niya, napapirma ka na rin. Ngayon, parang kontrata na rin yon nung pumirma ka. Ngayon, isipin ninyo, magkaiba yung enforceability at saka pwede mong i-execute. Yung kontrata na yun, valid contract yun. Since valid contract yun, pwede niyang enforceable yun. Ibig sabihin ng enforceable, punta ka sa korte at, ito di ba? Kailangan mong dumaan sa korte at mag-request ka sa korte na sana sundin yung kontrata na yun. Iba yung execution. Yung execution, ibig sabihin, panalo ka na, kulang, sinabi na ng korte na panalo ka, kulang na lang yung sheriff tawagin mo para siya yung humabol at huliin yung asawa mo na magbigay ng pera o kunin yung mga pera niya sa bahay. Yun ang difference ng judge. Pwede niyang utusan yung sheriff na kunin na yung pera. Dun sa mga PAO na yan, o sa mga iba, my opinion, hindi sila readily executable. Pero nagagawa nila ng paraan para nagme-mediate sila or nagko-conciliate sila. Maganda yon para magkabati kayong dalawa. Pero wag ninyong isipin meron kasi ako mga clients na pumupunta din sa akin, sinasabi nila. Hindi kasi nag-usap na ako, napilitan pumirma dito eh. Kasi ito, na-intimidate ako, ito talaga yung napirmahan ko eh. Talo na ba ako? Hindi naman, parang nag-agree ka lang naman dyan eh. Kontrata yan. Of course, valid yan. Ayon sa batas, dapat sundin mo. Pero matakot ka na ba na i-execute na yung kaso, pupunta na yung sheriff sa bahay mo upang kunin yung pera mo? Hindi. Kasi lahat, isipin mo, sa isang civilized country, lahat ng dispute dapat dumaan sa judge dahil judge lang ang pwedeng pumilit sa'yo na gumawa ng isang bagay, magbigay ng isang bagay.
Pero parang malaking silbi ang ginagawa ng PAO office din di ba? Dahil napakaraming walang kakayanan pumunta sa mga abogado, lalo na ngayon mga abogado napakamahal nila, no? Pero at yung mga iba naman pwede pero ang dami masyadong kaso dito sa PAO office. Ang alam ko talagang napupuntahan ng taong na walang kakayanan pumunta sa iba-ibang mga abogado. Tama ba yon? Is it really a public attorney's office that's its function?
one of the functions ng Public Attorney's Office, isipin mo, Butch, sa lahat ng ahensya ng gobyerno, yung unang frontliner pa lang, yung unang front desk, meron talaga silang mandate na tulungan mag-conciliate lahat ng parties. Na pagbatiin kayo na maayos, huwag na kayong magsampa ng kaso.
Ayun ang number one.
Yun yung number one. Kaya kapag lalapit, ang unang gumagawa niyan yung barangay eh.
Oo nga.
Pagpunta mo ng barangay, pagbabatiin kayo kaagad.
Alright.
Tapos akala mo kaso ulit sa barangay, huwag kayong masyadong kabahan sa barangay. Huwag kayong masyadong mag-away sa barangay, magsigawan, magsiraan, magsampalan, magsabunutan. Huwag ninyong gawin yun sa barangay, please. Dahil ang purpose lang ng barangay is pagbatiin kayo, mag-usap na sana maayos. Dahil kung hindi maayos, mapupunta rin naman kayo sa korte eh. Mapupunta rin kayo sa korte. Pero pinagbabati lang kayo. Kapag, ganun din, sa PAO. Kapag lumapit ka sa PAO, ganun ulit. Service ulit nila yan. Ganun din, kapag pumunta ka sa NLRC, National Labor Relations Commission, kapag kaaway mo yung employer mo, meron mo nang tinatawag na SENA, Single Entry Mediation. Tapos pag-uusapin muna kayo bago ko i-dediretso sa arbitration yung kaso. Kaya, yun.
Okay. Na-list ng konti tayo dito sa PAO dahil I brought it up because I think it's also important that people know exactly what the role of PAO is. Now, dito sa ating municipal at regional trial court, pag nagkaroon ng kaso dyan, no, kailan pupunta sa bakit mayroong Court of Appeals?
Dahil sabi ng batas, kung hindi ka satisfied sa desisyon ng isang trial court, dapat meron kang isang korte na mag-uusga kung tama ba o mali yung desisyon ng trial court. So, pre-provide, hence, Court of Appeals. Kaya kapag talo ka sa regional trial court o regional trial court, diretso ka sa Court of Appeals kasi hindi ka satisfied. Yun lang.
Pwede ka mag-apila na parang kino-complain mo. Mukhang hindi kami sang-ayon dito sa sinabi nitong lower courts. So we can appeal to the Court of Appeals, and that is provided by law, and it's also a way of helping everybody that has a redress. They have to seek redress. Now, tapos pag andyan na yung Court of Appeals, magkakaroon pa ba ulit ng trial doon sa Court of Appeals?
In general, hindi na. Halos puro question of law na lang ang dinadala sa Court of Appeals, or kung meron mang hindi nakita na important fact, tapos i-highlight mo dun sa appeal mo para makonsidera ng Court of Appeals, then i-resolve na nila.
Kaya i-repaso ng Court of Appeals yan, lahat ng lumabas na ebidensya, ganyan?
Hindi, kung ano lang yung release mo sa appeal. Ideally, ganito dapat ang nangyayari. Kapag binasa mo yung rules of court natin, rules of evidence, lahat-lahat, ang ganda niyang basahin. Kapag inimagine mo yan, na dumaan sa korte, wow, ang ganda. Pero, hindi nasusunod sa lahat ng korte. Yung procedure na yan. Kaya ka mag-a-appeal. Kasi, merong inadmit na document na hindi naman na-authenticate. Merong kinonsider na fact na wala namang nag-testify. Merong inadmit na document na nag-object ka. Or, meron kang present na material fact pero hindi consider ng decision. Ngayon, maganda yan. Tignan mo yung decision. Tignan mo kung ano yung marason niya, mga fact and basis sa law. And then dadalhin mo sa Court of Appeals. Tapos i-discuss mo, ito yung pagkakamali niyo. Itong conclusion of law na yan. Or, ito pagkakamali niyo, finding of fact. Or, ito, hindi niya po na-consider ito. Kapag na-consider lahat ito, mananalo ka. Yun yung basically yung argument mo eh. Ngayon, babalik ka sa records ng case. I-pick mo lang yung mga relevant na fact. Kasi sobrang sakit sa ulo niya. Kakapal yung case mo. Kung uulit-ulitin mo lahat yun, hindi. Basta ilagay mo lang yun. Kapag nakita nang nagbabasa sa Court of Appeals na kung mahalaga ito, sige nga, tignan ko nga sa record. Kaaralan niya ulit yan. Nagkamali nga. So, babalik na rin kayo.
So, pwedeng baligtarin ang desisyon dito sa lower courts. Kasi pag pumunta ka doon, natalo ka dito sa lower courts, tapos nag-apila ka sa Court of Appeals, makita itong argument mo at meron naman na rason na parang nagkamali yung husgado doon sa baba, pwedeng baligtarin ang desisyon.
Yep.
Yun ang mangyayari. No? At may power yung Court of Appeals to change that.
Yeah.
Okay. When that happens, what else? Does it stay there, or when does it go to the Supreme Court?
Again, kahit sino sa dalawang party na natalo sa Court of Appeals, pwede na naman silang umakyat sa Supreme Court. Even of course na meron silang grounds. No?
Yung ano ba yan? Kung buhat dito sa Regional Trial Court at na gusto mong mag-complain, pwede mo bang diretsuhin yan sa Supreme Court o dadaan ka talaga kailangan sa Court of Appeal?
Oh, medyo technical na yung question na yan. Pero, meron sa Rules of Court na kapag purely questions of law, Rule 45, diretso ka na, talon ka na ng Court of Appeals, diretso ka na sa Supreme. Ano ba yung mga purely questions of law? Yung mga, may kaso, tapos may set of facts. Hindi tayo nag-aaway about sa set of facts. Wala akong dinidispute sa facts. Kaso nga lang, medyo mahirap intindihin itong law na to. Feeling ko nagkamali yung judge sa pagkakaintindi niya ng batas. Hello, Supreme Court, pwedeng pa-interpret ng batas. Kasi parang mali eh. So yun, hingi ka ng tulong sa Supreme Court.
Okay. Or, iniisip ko lang, if the question of the complainant has to do with the constitutionality, can you go straight to the Supreme Court?
Yan, isa ulit yan sa mga exceptions. Judicial review ang tawag dyan. Kapag merong mga batas na ipinasa na unconstitutional, siyempre, yung effect niya, buong bansa na. Alam naman pupunta ka pa sa Regional Trial Court.
Right.
So, dumiretso ka na sa Supreme Court. Although, di ba, theoretically dapat sa baba ka muna Regional Trial Court. Pero, dire-diretso na talaga sa Supreme Court. Meron talaga transcendental importance, yung mga ganong theories, sinasite, automatic na yan ng Supreme Court. Parati nilang ina-admit yung mga ganong petition.
Ito yung nabanggit mo na kuminsan may mga batas na pinapasa at merong question of constitutionality. Every citizen has a right to go straight up to the Supreme Court and ask for a decision. The other one that I was thinking of dito po, lalo na dito sa Pilipinas, ang COMELEC. The COMELEC is a constitutional body. Now, during elections, they have supreme authority or absolute authority over all the matters regarding elections. Now, if during the process includes all the way up to the pronouncements of winners or losers, somebody wants to seek redress. Somebody complains. They have to complain dito sa COMELEC. They cannot go to any other court, right? On an election issue.
That is my understanding. Balik tayo sa general principle natin kanina. Kapag merong body na nagre-regulate sa isang process at may reklamo ka sa isang process, general rule, punta ka sa body na yan. And that is COMELEC.
Yun ang problema kasi ng marami. Kasi ang complaint nila is COMELEC itself. No? And COMELEC technically should not decide on itself. Right? If the complaint is on these commissioners or assistant commissioners or anybody in the organization that has to do with questioning the integrity of the people involved, no? How can they and how will they ever win a case that they will file in COMELEC against COMELEC?
Usually, in practice, this is what happens. You complain about something before the COMELEC, so as a body, the COMELEC decides on the issue. And then you are not satisfied about the issue, and you want to complain against the COMELEC COMELEC as a body or against one person, I don't know. So you avail of the appeals available to the decision of the COMELEC as a body. So that may mean you may go to the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court. I'm not familiar with the appeals.
I see. Okay, I just wanted this because later on, as we discuss the structure, no, I wanted to bring out certain, at least from our viewpoint, as we go through this, parang meron need for amendments to in our constitution in restructuring the government and what agency falls under what agency, no, in this particular case. Pero maganda po yung kinikwento po sa atin ni Harold, no? Dahil nakikita nyo naman, kabisado niya lahat. At magkakaroon tayo sana ng pagkakataon in the future na mabasa ang mga gusto nyong masagot niya, no? At siyempre, siguro, kapag maliliwanagan tayo sa lahat ng ating mga problema in matters of law. But hindi pa tayo tapos. Gusto ko pa lang, meron pa ba akong bubuksan dito?
Okay. Bring it on, Butch!
Okay. Bago po natin basahin kung meron mga comments. Meron na bang mga comments? Okay. Gusto ko lang malaman. Ang general impression ng tao, ordinaryong tao, katulad namin, no, ay meron korupsyon sa judicial system natin. Siyempre, yung mga judge, sabi nila nabibili at ganito dyan, and all the way up to the Supreme Court, no? At nagbibigay ng masamang reputasyon. Dahil lang sinabi mo kanina, yung 3 branches of government, no? Ito yung 3 poste talaga. Executive, yan ang opisina ng presidente at ang kanyang gabinete. Tapos yung legislative, ito naman yung tagagawa ng batas. Yung executive, taga-implement. Tapos, ito pong judiciary, siya ang magsasabi kung ang batas na ginagawa ng legislative o ang batas na ini-implement ng executive is within the Constitution ayon sa saligang batas. Basically, that is the division of check and balance principle. Ngayon, so kung ang tao meron siyang problema dito sa mga mambabatas at meron nagawa o may nang abuso o meron ng ganyan. Tapos yung mambabatas na yon, kaibigan naman yung mayor o yung governor na nandyan naman yan sa executive, no? Nahihirapan siya. So, na magkaroon ng maghanap ng tutulong sa kanya. So, ang pupuntahan niya dapat yung judiciary. Kasi pupunta siya sa korte, sasampahan niya ng kaso yung legislator o kaya yung mayor o kung ano man. Ngayon, pag pupunta siya sa judiciary at yung judge ay nalalagyan, kawawa naman yung tao, no? He cannot seek redress for his complaint or his situation. Wala na siyang mapuntahan kasi yung executive sarado na, yung legislative yun ang gusto niyang sampahan ng kaso. Tapos pupunta siya dito sa judge, baka kamag-anak pa nung mayor o yung ng mambabatas. what happens then?
All right, Butch. Every time a client comes to me and asks me, Attorney, nalalagyan ba yan? O baka yan, pwede ba kaming tulungan na lagyan? I always answer, Hi, I'm regular.
Ano ibig sabihin?
I'm regular. I'm not irregular. Ibig sabihin lang nun
Okay.
is, pati yung sinasabi, kapag mag-umpisa kayo ng kaso, o magdidepensa kayo ng kaso, tapos yan kagad, huwag niyo munang isipin na kurap itong judge, kurap itong pulis na to, or kurap yan, kurap yung abogado nila. Hindi. Isipin ninyo na dadaan tayo sa regular na process.
Proseso.
At ako, gagawin ko ang lahat ng mga kaya ko para ipanalo ka sa regular na process. At ganun din ang gagawin ng kalaban natin. Tingnan natin sa decision kung ano ang lalabas. Sino ang mas magaling or sino ang tama. Kung sa tingin mo, nagkamali ang husgado, mag-appeal ka. Mag-appeal ka sa Court of Appeals. Meron namang appeals process eh. Kung sa tingin mo, naging corrupt yung husgado, yung pulis, yung abogado, lahat, kung may ebidensya ka, hindi kita pipigilan kung ipoproceed mo yung case. Pero, please, medyo nakakasama ng loob kapag parati mong sinasabi na nakurap yung judge, nakurap yung ganito, nakurap yung ganito. Kung wala kang ebidensya, medyo na-stress ako. Kasi papasahin mo, gusto mong sampaan ko siya ng kaso, wala naman tayong ebidensya. Buti sana kung may ebidensya, tutulungan naman kita eh.
Kanya ako naiintindihan ko yung sinasabi mo, Harold. Kasi unang-una, palagay ko ang corruption hindi natin sasabihin lagana. Nandiyan yan sa lahat ng ahensya ng gobyerno eh. No? Ngayon, pero gobyerno. At kinakailangan meron po tayong gobyerno. Kung ayaw natin ng patakbo, meron tayong pamamaraan para palitan yan pagdating ng eleksyon. Di ba po? Napapalitan lahat yan. At kung magkakaroon tayo ng complaint, lalo na dito sa husgado, meron, palagay ko, parang sa mga pulis, may mahusay na pulis, may masamang pulis. Di ba? May mahusay na mayor at may masamang mayor. Meron mahusay na husgado at may masama din, di ba? At nasa atin na po yan, siyempre, ganyan po ang ating patakbo. Wala pong bansa na makakasabi na malinis lahat ng kanilang mga nasa gobyerno. No? Pero dito tayo nabubuhay, kinakailangan ayusin natin at subukan natin ang proseso. At kung magkakaroon tayo maghahanap tayo ng mahusay na abogado na ipaglalaban ang kaso on the merits of the case. No? Yung mismong yung kung ano yung kaso, ano yung ebidensya at isasampa. Yun. Ang iba naman sa atin, and nakita ko to Harold, yung iba, hindi na naghahanap ng mahusay na abogado. Ang kanilang ideya na mahusay, yung mahusay maglagay. Na? At meron pong mga ganyan. Ang kanilang pinaka-expertise ay gumapang, gagapangin yung mga judge, gagapangin yung, pati na yung abogado mo, pwede nilang gapangin. No? Para hindi ka tulungan. Meron pong mga ganyan. Kung maramdaman nyo po yung ganyan, sa akin ang payo ko sa mga ganyan, yung lalo na yung isang kaibigan ko, ganyan yung kanyang nararanasan, sabi ko, huwag na siya mag-atubili, palitan niya agad ang kanyang abogado, no? At huwag na siyang, hindi naman siya nakapako sa abogado niya. Maghanap siya ng mahusay na abogado na dadaan sa proseso. Kanya gusto ko po itong sinasabi ni Attorney Harold dahil isa pong problema ito talaga sa mga mamayan. Isa pong problema yan palagi sa mga darating na henerasyon. Pero hahanapan natin ng sistema para mabawasan nabawasan itong mga pangyayari, no,
Yeah.
na korupsyon.
Yeah, Butch. I think that, you know what, it happens everywhere. Sabi nga ni Lord Acton, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Diba? So, alam na.
Tama. Tama. Nandiyan po yan eh, no? At kung minsan, pag sobra na, ay ipinapaano naman ng taong bayan. Pinaparinig ng taong bayan sa mga kinauukulan ang kanilang karaingan at ang kanilang complaints. Pag sobra na, no? At pag umabot na po dyan, at hindi pa gumalaw, yung sinasabi kong 3 branches of government, no? Pag wala na talagang mapuntahan at sobra na nakapako ng taong bayan, eh, kanya po nagkakaroon ng mga revolusyon. No?
Ouch. So, Butch, can you tell me, one interesting instance sa history na, yun, sobra na yung abuses ng government, grabe yung corruption, and then may ginawang hakbang yung mga tao. At anong hakbang yung ginawa?
Maraming instances dyan, no? Pero pag ang tinutukoy mo dito sa Pilipinas, no, it's debatable, no? Kasi sometimes this is the problem also with what we call the democracy. Sometimes the anger or complaints, no, are manufactured, and it is not that it's no basis, but it is not enough, no, for any kind of upheaval to be made. Personally, I consider the EDSA 86, no, 1986, as a manufactured revolution. It was not at all anything like that, and my feeling at the time that it was going on was always with doubt, but I confirmed it after the takeover of Corazon Aquino. I was not a Marcos loyalist. As a matter of fact, I was a anti-Marcos then, despite the fact that my father was an appointee of Marcos in as an ambassador. But I was working against Marcos. But when I saw that this was being done, I saw a hidden hand behind what was going on and what manipulated so-called people power. Now, having said that, has there been in other countries? Yes. But it was mostly revolutions that was against basic oppression. No, it was not, the collapse of the system, but more because there was an oppressive power, that was holding down and being fascist in nature against the people, and the people rose up against it. Yung yung American Revolution, 1776, no? England was on top of them. It was running government. It had a system of government. It had the legislature. It had an executive, and it had a judicial system as well. But it was England that was there, and the people, those that were born in the United States, born in America, especially them, they were the ones feeling oppressed by the laws, by the systems that were being placed, and the tightness that the British were holding against their people. And so they got together. Who are they? Young people, farmers, young people in their 20s. No? The oldest in that group was 35 years old. His name was George Washington. But their guru was a guy named Benjamin Franklin, who was 75 years old.
These names sound familiar.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, there was a revolution, no, and they fought for their country, and that was the first time the concept of republicanism, no, was pushed, and because of that idea, the all subsequent republics, including ours, all over the world, followed that same principle that they fought for against the monarchical oppression. So that one, no, that was one revolution. In the Philippines, we fought against oppression. The Spaniards had their own system here. They had the judiciary. They had the court of laws. They had their and our people revolted, no? And our heroes, of course. The same thing we did against the Americans. No? So whenever there is a oppression, which means the basic rights of the people are not listened to, and the people don't have redress, they cannot go to the agencies that are structured supposedly to listen to them and help the people. And when that thing starts to mount up, then they will have a revolution. Like I said, but the one that happened in '86, it was not something like that because it was. It looked like it was manipulated and manufactured, and the target was to get what was perceived, who perceived was a dictator. But when he was taken out, the whole economy started going on a tailspin. All of our infrastructure was put aside. Our nuclear power plant was mothballed, and we opened the country to importation of goods, and we became service providers. And the jobs that we were good at were all caregivers, nurses, call centers, and we didn't have manufacturing capabilities. We destroyed all our capability to produce. Now, you see that only after some years after the revolution. Then you know what was done to us. So, and it happens. We don't want it to happen. Nobody really wants something like that to happen, but it happens. And what the best thing to do is when you're seeing that it might happen, try to prevent it.
All right, Butch. Wow, that was profound. How is that for my first episode?
No, Harold and I are good friends, and we discuss these things quite openly. No? And I'm glad that he's with us here, and you might be seeing him. I think you will be seeing him every Friday at about this time, about 8:30 to 9:30. No? And gusto kong makilala siya ng mga listeners natin at mga lalo na, by the way, we have a lot of OFWs
Hello.
from all over. I don't know if they were able to communicate.
My brother might be watching. He's from the States. Nurse.
Talaga?
Yeah. And
really
his
good.
wife.
Oh,
And my tita.
Oh.
The US also.
Alam ba nila you'll come out now?
Hindi pa.
Hindi pa.
Bubulagayin ko mamaya sila sa messenger.
Oh, sige. It's time to read the text messages sent to us by our listeners and viewers. But we reserve the right to read them to the public. Their opinion is not necessarily ours. But we reserve the right to read them to the public because of freedom of speech. Okay. Wilfrido Opiniano. Good evening ka, Butch, ka, Harold. Mabuhay po kayo sa Law Pals. No?
Si Hatol Respishow.
Sa Law Pals si Hatol Respishow.
Well, he called me Hatol.
Okay. Harold.
It's nice, no? Filipino version of Harold.
Hatol Respicio. Yeah, that's a good name.
It sounds nice, yeah.
You want to read it? Or?
Okay, sir, kung sa lupa naman dahil nadaanan ng proyekto ng gobyerno, saan lalapit yung complaints? Attorney Harold. Alright, itong expect mo every time As a matter of fact, meron kaming bahay sa probinsya ngayon. And
Yeah.
then merong tinatayo na malaking bridge and sasagasaan talaga yung harap ng bahay. As a matter of procedure, lalapit sila sa iyo and then mag-offer sila ng fair market value ng ng nakuha
Lupa
nila
mo.
na part ng property mo. More often than not, yung mga nasasagasaan pumapayag kasi maganda naman yung presyo. Yung mga hindi papayag, mag-appeal ka sa kanila, sa DPWH. Kapag hindi mo nagustuhan yung decision ng DPWH, I don't know kung pupunta ka ata sa RTC. I'm not familiar with the procedure. You either go to the DPWH or sa RTC kasi eminent domain yan. And then pupunta ka sa CA. So, merong mga cases yan sa Supreme Court. Basahin mo, maganda yung discussion doon about sa procedures. Pero basta kapag ayaw mo, yung usapan ninyo ng DPWH, you always have the remedy in court. Always fair market value. Usually yun lang naman ang labanan fair market value.
Okay. Glenn Buwan.
Ren Buwan, paki-explain po ang nature ng grave abuse of discretion. When is an act considered as such? Kanino lang po ba applicable ito? What a nice question. You read the Rules of Court, Rule 65, Petition for Certiorari. Grave abuse of discretion, anong ibig sabihin? Parating binabato yung phrase na yan, and then ang sarap pakinggan, and ang sarap namnamin, akala mo tama ka kapag binato mo yung phrase na yon. Pero pretty much, ito lang ibig sabihin niya, nagkamali yung lower court, and then yung pagkakamali niya, babalik rin natin. Parang gano'n, kapag petition for certiorari, magkaiba ito sa appeal. Sa appeal kasi, ang parating issue diyan is, na-consider ba tong fact na to, mali ba yung appreciation niya ng fact, mali ba yung question niya of law, therefore, babalik rin namin. Meron kasing side na remedy sa batas, yung appeal kasi, diretso yan hindi ka satisfied my decision, then pupunta sa upper court. Pero kapag hindi ka satisfied sa maliliit na aspect ng tao, yung mga interlocutory orders ang tawag. Pero important order. Halimbawa, sa isang settlement of estate case, tapos ayaw mo yung appointment ng isang administrator. So, hindi yung decision, right? Pero ayaw mo yung decision na yun. So, i-appeal mo yun sa taas. Rule 65, Petition for Certiorari. And ang basis mo, ang theory mo is, hindi nagkamali sa batas, hindi nag-appreciate, hindi misappreciation ng facts, pero grave abuse of discretion. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Siyempre, yung judge bilang judge, pag nag-decide siya, anong tawag doon? Nag-exercise siya ng discretion. Since discretion siya, pwede siyang mag-decide one way, pwede rin siyang mag-decide two ways. In general, hindi pakikialaman dapat ng upper court yan. Kasi discretion niya yun Parang management discretion yan. Kung may negosyo ka, discretion mo yan
Right.
Kaso nga lang, kapag grave, kapag grabe, nagkamali ka talaga, grabe na. Hindi pwedeng discretion na yan. Ganon yun. Kapag halimbawa, sa pag-appoint ng special administrator, halimbawa sa settlement of estate case, gumamit siya ng discretion niya, yung decision niya against sa mga jurisprudence, sa mga prior decisions ng Supreme Court. Tinignan mo yung mga rason niya, maling-mali, kontrang-kontra sa decision ng Supreme Court. Tama pa ba yung paggamit niya ng discretion? Mali na. Grabe ba? Grabe. Grave abuse. Yun yung ibig sabihin niya. Theoretically, ayon sa batas. Pero pretty much kung babasahin mo lahat ng petition for certiorari na case, grave abuse of discretion, basta makikita mo lang doon na nagkamali, therefore babaguhin ko. And then sasabihin na lang grave abuse of.
Right. Okay. Meron pa.
Meron pa. Ano kaya ang opinion ni Attorney Harold sa Article 12, Section 17 to 22 of the 1987 Constitution? Pwedeng pa cite kasi hindi ko memorize. At ano kaya ang posibleng legal remedies ang available if the President refuses or does not declare a national emergency in accordance with said article? Alright, basa! Butch!
I will just rephrase it. The Article 12 of our Constitution, Section 17, says that the government is mandated to declare a state of emergency on an issue of during a national crisis, and that in so doing, the government can take over the public utilities controlled by the private sector, no? In order, yan.
Okay, basahin natin.
Basahin mo na lang.
Section 17. Wow, in Filipino. Ang Estado, sa mga panahon ng pambansang kagipitan, kapag kinakailangan ng kapakanang pambayan, ay maaring pansamantalang mga siwa o mamatnugot sa pagpapalakad ng anumang pambayang utility. Yun, mahirapang mag-translate ng Pilipino yun. Na aring pribado o negosyong kinapapalooban ng kapakanang pambayan habang umiiral ang kagipitang pambayan sa ilalim ng makatwirang mga katakdaang. Alright, hindi ko na mabasa. Okay, section 17 muna. Alright, isa-isayin natin. Ang estado sa mga panahon ng pambansang kagipitan. Sino ang estado? Sino ang estado? Sa gobyerno natin, in practical terms, ang estado ay ang executive branch. Siya ang magde-declare. Hindi ang judiciary, hindi ang legislative branch. Pero feeling ko pwede rin ang legislative branch. I'm not sure, I'm not a constitutionalist, pero I think it's a matter, of principle, it's the executive branch. Ang president. Okay. Sa mga panahon ng pambansang kagipitan, sino ngayon ang magde-determine kung sino ang pambansang kagipitan? Kailan ang pambansang kagipitan? Meron ba o wala? Ako ba ang magde-determine? Si congressman ano ba? Si senador ba? O si Supreme Court ba? Sila ba? Hindi. I think president ang magde-determine kung merong pambansang kagipitan. Kapag kinakailangan ng kapakanang pambayan, sino magde-determine ulit yan? President ulit. Ngayon, naku, Atty. Harold, puro na lang president. Hindi kung meron talaga tapos hindi niya nakita na merong ganyan, may magagawa pa ba tayo? Magsampa kaya ako sa Supreme Court? Sabi nila, okay, sinampa mo sa Supreme Court. Doon muna tayo wala pa tayong sentence. Ano ang gagawin ng Supreme Court sa petition mo? Ang sasabihin niya dyan, sa kapanahon ng pambansang kagipitan, political call yan. Ibig sabihin yan, ang determination yan political, hindi kami. Whether meron o walang pambansang kagipitan, si President ang makapagsabi niyan. So, hindi mo siya mapipwersa kung sa tingin niya wala. Alright, sige. Ito. Kapag kinakailangan ng kapanganakang pambayan, ngayon, siyempre si President pa rin. Halimbawa, nag-declare si President na may pambansang kagipitan daw. May pambansang kagipitan. At sinabi niya, kapag kinakailangan ng kapakanang pambayan, yun. Feeling ko, pwedeng pumasok ang Supreme Court sa question ng kapag kinakailangan ng kapakanang pambayan. Halimbawa, nag-declare siya ng national emergency and then sinabi niya na may state of national emergency and then sabi niya na for public good. Public good. Maluwang yun. Maluwang yung ayon sa jurisprudence. Ang standard ng public good, napakaluwang. Basta meron kang mahagip na public good, na may magbe-benefit na public.
National interest.
Malamang papasayan. Pero pwedeng i-entertain ng Supreme Court yung question na yan. So, okay, continue tayo. Ay maaring pansamantalang mga siwa o mamatnugot sa pagpapalakad ng... so ibig sabihin, pwede siyang mag-take over sa utilities. Ano ba yung mga utilities? Tubig, kuryente, telecommunications, internet, kasama yung internet.
Telecom.
Okay, pwede siyang mag-take over. Alright, so nag-take over na yung executive branch siguro, nagutos na siya ng mga tao para mag-take over ng mga utilities na yun. Alright, executive function yun political function yun So anong magagawa ng Supreme Court sa ganyang issue? Ang magagawa lang niya is para tignan kung reasonable, kailangan ba talaga ng bayan, and mapoprotektahan lahat ng Bill of Rights sa Constitution natin. Right to property, siguro hindi ko alam kung may just compensation ba o wala, may taking ba o wala. May karapatan sa pagkatao, privacy siguro, na hindi basta-bastang sugurin, yung mga ganon. Yun yung mga aspeto na pwedeng i-question mo sa Supreme Court. Kung ikaw ay tao, kung isa kang citizen at concerned ka about sa implementation ng Section 17. Pero as far as calling for Section 17 is concerned, leave that to the President. Okay, Section 18. Ang estado sa kapakanan ng pambansang kagalingan o pagtatanggol. Why did you pull up the... Just kidding. Ang estado sa kapakanan ng pambansang kagalingan.
Meron ka ba nung English?
Yeah, I like this. I like the Filipino.
Filipino.
At least may excuse kapag hindi maganda explanation ko. Ang estado sa kapakanan ng pambansang kagalingan. Oh gosh. Alright. What's pambansang kagalingan?
National welfare.
National welfare.
Yeah.
Welfare. O pagtatanggol. Defense. ay maaring magtatag at magpalakad ng mga mapakahalagang industriya at magkapagbayad ng wastong kabayaran. Maaring ilipat nito sa pagmamay-ari pambayan ang mga utility at iba pang mga pribadong negosyo na palalakarin ng pamahalaan. So, ibig sabihin, i-nationalize mo or
Right.
i-nationalize mo yung industries na yon.
Yes.
So, kapakanan ng pambansang kagalingan at pagtatanggol. Yan ulit. So, the President can declare, for the sake of national defense or welfare, I can do this. But whether or not it's for defense, it was called for defense, or it was necessary for national welfare, can be raised, that issue can be raised to the Supreme Court. Usually, kapag may mga ganyang declaration, automatic na may magka-question na yan sa Supreme Court. Pero yun yung mga issue na itatakel ng Supreme Court. Ay maaring magtatag at magpalakad ng mga napakahalagang industriya. Alright, government setting up industries. I like that. For the benefit of the public. Alright. At kapag bayad ng wastong kabayaran, maaring ilipat. Alright, ito. Lawful taking sa private property. So may just compensation, sabi, di ba? So eminent domain yun, exercise yun ng eminent domain. Sabi, di ba, pwedeng mag-set up yung government ng industries, and then pwede rin silang kumuha ng industries from private hands, especially those, ownership of utilities and private enterprises, di ba? To be operated by government, but with just compensation. Ang ibig sabihin lang yan, rin-recognize ng Constitution natin, number one, yung right to property. Sa kanila yan eh. Pero, may karapatan ng government na i-take over yan sa mga ganitong for national welfare and defense. Pero kapag kinuha mo, dapat may just compensation. Bigyan mo pa rin sila. Yung just compensation, sabihin fair value ng nawala sa kanila, di ba? Kahit sino naman, kung kunin ng gobyerno pagmamayari.
Kung ano may pag-usapan nila, kung ano yung value nun, di ba?
Yeah. Kung hindi kayo agree sa value, again, may solution kayo sa court.
Do you have 19, 20, 21, and 22? O yung 20?
19, the state shall regulate or prohibit monopolies when the public interest so requires. Alright, the state shall regulate or prohibit. So, sino si state sa Section 19? I think it's the legislature. So, parang general command siya. Hey, legislature, it is a matter of policy na wala dapat monopoly. Baka gusto nyo mag-set up ng batas. I think meron na tayo ngayong commission on, ano tawag nito? Yung bagong commission na antitrust. Meron tayong antitrust. I think yun yung nag-a-address sa kanya. Can you pull that up again?
Pasok mo ulit.
All right, when the public interest so requires. All right, it's the legislature that will call that. No combinations in restraint of trade or unfair competition shall be allowed. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito, yung mga, anong tawag yun? Yung mga cartel?
Cartel.
Okay, mga cartel combinations in restraint of trade. Ibig sabihin, nag-uusap kayo, malalaking industry kayo para walang ibang competition na makapasok sa industry ninyo. Nag-uusap-usap kayo about prices. Di ba?
Parang telcos.
Alright.
Mga telcos, di ba?
Alright. Or unfair competition shall be allowed. So again, it is up for the legislature to provide laws, pass laws consistent with that provision of the Constitution.
Yeah.
Let's go, Section 20.
20.
Alright, the Congress shall establish an independent central monetary authority. That's the central bank. The members of those governing board must be natural-born Filipino citizens of known probity, integrity, patriotism, the majority of whom shall blah, blah, blah. They shall also be subject. All right.
Well, yeah.
All right.
And the next one, I think.
All right. Okay. Mahaba, pero wala.
21.
Section 21. Oh, let's be back. We are back. It's back, Tagalog. Maaari lamang makautang sa ibang bansa nang naalinsunod sa batas at alituntunin ng pangasiwaan sa pananalapi. Ang ibig sabihin lang yan, kaya nakikita nyo, every time na umuutang tayo is parati yung House of Representatives or mga senador, parating Congress. Kasi ang power, treasury, naka-reside yan sa Congress. Kaya every time na umuutang, may batas parating lumalabas. Sila yung pasimuno. Sa alituntunin ng pangasiwaan sa pananalapi, Department of Budget. So, may coordination parati sa Department of Budget. Dapat maging handa sa pagbibigay ng taong bayan ng impormasyon hinggil sa mga utang sa ibang bansa na nakuha, pinarantiyan. Ibig sabihin lang yan, may right to information ng mga tao para malaman
Yeah,
Ah,
yung conditionalities.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yung mga conditions ng sovereign debts.
Right.
And yeah,
Okay.
syempre,
Itong more very relevant, itong 22.
Section 22.
Oh.
Kung sino man ang nagtanong ng question na to, well, ang galing mo. Parang kinover na natin yung
Well, this
isang
is
chapter ng
this is the
Constitution.
primary issue of KDP.
That one?
Yes.
Okay.
All of this, Article 12 and Section 17 to 22.
All right.
Okay.
Acts which circumvent or negate any of the provisions of this article shall be considered inimical to the national interest and subject to criminal and civil sanctions as may be provided by law. I think this provision targets those who may be the subject, who may be affected by the policies of the executive or the president or the Congress or the Supreme Court in implementing the prior provisions. So remember, these provisions are here in the Constitution because they address the needs of the public during difficulties, during state of emergencies, during state of invasion, maybe national defense or public welfare. These are important matters. So whoever may contravene any action of the government in pursuance of these prior provisions are subject, may be held accountable in law, criminal and civil sanctions. So sabi dito,
Question.
alright,
Oh,
sorry.
sige.
Yung criminal sanctions na sinasabi dito and civil sanctions, this is just a civil statement. Of course, you cannot just go to the court and ask the court, hey court, section 22 says this criminal and civil sanction. May I ask for a remedy? No, you can't do that kasi hindi specific. So there must be a separate law passed by Congress, signed by President, na nagpo-provide ng criminal sanctions or civil sanctions.
As may
And
be
then,
provided by law.
yun yung, as may be provided by law.
Yeah, question. You talked about what you said, whatever government policies are, those that are going to not follow it or negate it, will be the ones that are criminally liable. What about, the question here is this, what about those that are in government that refuse to implement it?
Give me a specific instance.
Now is a specific instance. For example, we are in a national crisis, and it's obvious that the framers of the Constitution realized that in a national crisis as we have it now, which is health and economics, the public utilities plays a vital role in being able to alleviate the burden that the public is carrying during this national emergency. Now, if the executive, like you said, the president, does not do and declare a state of emergency to take over the public utilities, of course, with the end in view of bringing down the rates of electricity and water, so on. If he reneges on this mandate of the Constitution, is he liable or not?
As a general rule, you cannot hold the executive liable for non-performance of a function or a power in the Constitution. If you go to the Supreme Court, this is my opinion, if you go to the Supreme Court and tell the Supreme Court, hey, the President is not implementing this Section 17 to 22.
The Supreme Court cannot force him to do it.
Yeah, and you ask the Supreme Court, therefore Supreme Court, can you tell the President to do Section 17 to 22?
He cannot do that.
And the Supreme Court will tell you, no, as much as I think that he should do it, as much as you think that he should do it, as much as many of you think that the President should do it, I cannot force him because it is a political determination. It is a
Right.
political determination. It is up to him to determine whether or not to implement Section 17 and forward.
But this is the punctum saliens, the most salient point that we were discussing this, and we accepted and understood that since it is a decision, a power given only to the executive. No other branch of government can force him to do it. Now, for clarification as to what this constitutional provision means, we can go to the Supreme Court and get an interpretation. But for the Supreme Court to order the president to do it, hindi kakayanin, di ba? Kung ayaw talaga ng presidente, palitan ng presidente kung ano.
Precisely. Yeah, people think that your only remedy is korte and then vote, etc. Maraming remedies outside of this. Pwede kang bumoto. Maraming mga, hindi ko naman sinasuggest, pero alam mo yun, throughout history. Kaya nga, minodel yung Constitution ng United States, ginawa yung Constitution natin. Merong mga assumptions diyan na kapag hindi ka satisfied sa trabaho ng branches ng government mo, there is always a solution.
May remedies. Okay, that's a good discussion.
All right, CJ Lahora, are you the Chief Justice?
Hindi.
CJ, watching from Cainta Rizal, shout out po yung mama ko na nasa Makati, binabantayan po yung lola ko. Na-lockdown po yung mama ko na nasa Makati. You're 12 years old! Hi CJ, how are you? Kumusta ang pag-aaral? Walang ML masyado please. Shout out lang. Walang question? Okay. Kathy Cruz, watching from Payatas City. Is he the lawyer of...
The lawyer.
Yeah, let's move. Marisa Buyaw, watching from Hong Kong. Hi. All right. Isa Israel, good evening, Attorney Harold and Prof. Butch. I admire Sir Butch for this hard work and giving educational information to people. Take care po.
Okay,
all right. RJ Haveliana, mabuhay.
RJ is with us here.
All right. BB Jean Bongkayaw, I admire po yung group nyo nila Sir Toti at Sir RJ for being humane and true and kind.
Thank you.
I don't know. Lourdes Cock. Hello Sir Butch and Mr. Harold. Good evening sa inyo dyan. Watching like always from Accra City, West Africa. Roland Salvador. Good evening Prof. Butch and kay Attorney Respicio at sa bumubuo ng KDP Attorney. Ano po kaya ang dahilan bakit inabot ng ganito ang petition ni BBM? I don't know anything about that petition, that case. I'm sorry. Would you comment, Butch?
Politika po no? Mahirap pong mag-comment dyan dahil obviously it is not a technical issue. It became a political issue and the politics has apparently infiltrated the Supreme Court, no? So that's the way the ball bounces. Sige. Dora Vega.
Dora Vega, good evening po mga sirs. Good evening, Dora. Meli Valenzuela, good evening po. Napaka-interesting naman ng topic po, mga sir. Remy Zapata, Montemayor, Attorney Harold, nag-file po kami ng notice to appeal. Kung March katapusan, bakit hanggang ngayon po wala pang kasagutan po? Ako rin, same ang tanong ko. Sorry. Leomar Beltran, very informative and interesting topic. A good show for aspiring lawyers. Clarissa Concepcion, very informative.
Yes, Clarissa.
I think Clarissa is getting much information from the show. Carlo EY, good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. John Cyril Onato, good evening, Sir Butch, Attorney Respishow, at sa inyong lahat na nandito. Attorney Respishow, ask ko lang, ano po ba ang isasampang kaso laban kina FDA Domingo at DOH Duque sa panggigipit at paninira ng ivermectin at Fabunan o FI dahil hindi sila naghahanap ng solusyon. Alright. You know what? As much as I'd like to watch TV every day, I cannot because I have too much work. And I'm sorry, I'm not up to date with the news and I don't know. Mga sir, sana may sulong na ni PRRD ang Artikulo 12, Section 17 to 18 para sana maging maayos atin. Ang problema lang, nagbingi-bingihan, nagbulag-bulagan at nagtanga-tangahan siya. Alright. William Yaguno, gandang gabi po muli sa lahat. Ang daming nag-ano sa atin. Zene Arcilia, good evening, Sir Butch, Sir Harold Respishow. Watching in Hong Kong. Hi there. Lolit Reganit, Taiwan will rule the world. TSMC 29833. Picometer, what's that? Is that alien language? Tell me. Siguro po para umunlad, Pinas, pasok na po tayo sa fabrication ng semiconductor kasi malaka pera doon kahit may pandeng. Alright, I'm open-minded. Tell me about that. What else?
Sige. Meron pa.
Okay, Alfredo Oredinia, President Lausare made my masters to control its subjects, slaves. It feels like I'm reading excerpts from Lord of the Rings. Virginia Malonzo, good evening po mga sir. Santos CB, good evening po. Ruth Groot, good evening po sa Demokratikong Pilipinas, Butch Valdes and Harold Respishow. Mabuhay ang mga Ophirians. What's Ophirians, Butch?
It's a ancient description of our people, no? That goes beyond the Philippines, covering about 1/3 of the world.
Sabi ko na nga ba nasa ano tayo, Lord of the Rings tayo. Yun ba ang theme natin tonight? Alright, I look forward to more Ophirians. Roland Salvador, masakit na katotohanan, nagiging pera-pera po ang labanan sa ngayon. Lalo ang nasa kapangyarihan at gobyerno, walang makulong tulad na lang ng kaso sa PhilHealth. Puro investigasyon lang. You know what? I read one interesting book. IMDb in Malaysia. It also involved appropriation. I don't know. I'm not telling that there is misappropriation here in the Philippines, but it was a case, actual case of misappropriation in large scale of government funds. Also, sovereign wealth funds like this. PhilHealth is a sovereign wealth fund for health. Alright. Jose Perez Oco IV. Kaya, basahin mo yan. Yung kung sino man na nag-comment about sa PhilHealth, basahin mo yan. A $1 billion whale na book. Read that. Nice read. Masakit na katotohanan. Alright. Kung hindi kinikilala ng China ang desisyon ng UNCLOS na nanalo tayo sa kaso laban sa WBS, saan pwede pa natin daanin ang usapan nito? Mabuhay, Maso from UAE. You know what? Yung UN, Bush, your opinion?
No, I just wanted to say that yung MASO is an organization which we formed. MASA ayaw sa oligarko, no? Because of the public utilities.
Alright.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alam niyo, noong unang panahon, di ba, merong mga supranational organizations, meron daw wala. Mga bansa lang, di ba? Bansa. And then kung may dispute sila, anong ginagawa nila? Naggegerahan lang sila at nagpapatayan sila. Yun yung sinasabi ko. Kapag walang solusyon sa korte, ang solusyon is magpatayan kayo. Yun ang ginagawa. And then I think World War II, nagkaroon na establish yung mga supranational organizations. Kasama na doon yung United Nations. And then merong part about sa territorial, yung mga maritime issues, meron ding parang agency na nagko-cover doon. And any international issue na involving maritime disputes, kung may problema yung isang bansa, kasi civilized sila between bansa, doon niya dadalhin. And then magrereklamo siya. And even before, parang normal din na tao. Yung mga bansa noon, parang normal na tao. Hoy, agree na tayo ha, kung ano talaga yung teritoryo natin ha. Sige, okay, fine. Naglista sila. Nakapirma ang Pilipinas, I think nakapirma rin yung China, right?
Saan? Sa UNCLOS?
Yeah.
So, nakapirma pero with
Reservations.
a lot of reservations. Ang Amerikano hindi pumirma sa UNCLOS.
Okay.
Because they don't want to be limited by so-called territorial boundaries. So what they did, the UNCLOS is came up with this 200-mile exclusive economic zone. The problem is, depends where the 200-mile is starting from. Kanya nag-overlap yan 200 miles. Yeah. And that's where the disputes come about. Pero para kay Jose Perez Oco the fourth, ang KDP po, we have a proposal for our foreign policy position with regard to the WPS, and it is based on something that had happened several centuries ago, no? but it definitely worked because it became the template for resolving territorial disputes. It is called the Treaty of Westphalia. Treaty of Westphalia of 1648. You want to read up on it, go ahead and read up on it. And the principles that were used there, no, is what we are suggesting to be used here. At wala pang nagsasuggest nito, not China, not us, definitely not America. It's all a lot of saber rattling now, no, and showing of muscles. Pero this can be resolved. Yung Treaty of Westphalia, during that time, 5 countries sila nagpapatayan lahat. France, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, and Sweden. At nag-aanuan sila. For about 30 years, they were all killing each other. But they came up finally with a meeting in the Treaty of Westphalia, initiated by the acting head of France then was Cardinal Mazarin. Pero sasabihin ko na lang sa iyo, pero hindi ko mali-lecture lahat yan. Pero ganito po ang prinsipyong pinagkaisahan nila. The proposals coming from each country did not benefit themselves but benefited the other. Nung sinabi ni Cardinal Mazarin, if you really want peace, let us have peace under this principle. Whatever your proposal is must not benefit you, it must benefit the other. So that became the start of the Peace of Westphalia. Tapos, ang nagkaisa sila, natapos yung pag-uusapan nila, na ang sinasabi, they did not consider all of those so-called boundaries or territorial boundaries. They did away with the territorial boundaries, but instead they looked at these rivers, the Rhine River and its tributaries, as economic corridors, and that became the treaty, the Peace of Westphalia, that started the idea of Europe being one. And buhat nun, ang development ng Europe started from these 5 countries and expanded to the rest of what we now know as Europe. And something like that can also be done, pero it will take the kind of leadership and intellectual capacity that maybe at this point we do not have yet.
All right. Glenn Buwan, we can't sue the PRRD. What about the IATF and OCTA? Can we hold them accountable legally and civilly? Which ikaw na. I don't understand these acronyms.
Sobrang po ang busy ito. Hindi nakabantay. Yung IATF is about the COVID task force. No? The OCTA is supposed to be a survey company that is being used because they are supposedly misleading the people. So
Okay.
you don't have to comment.
Arnold for Respishow, good evening, Harold and Butch. Hello.
Ano yan? Kamag-anak mo ba?
Maybe. Baka gawin din na ito. Hey, Ocampo, good evening po, Prof. Butch Valdes and our visitors, mabuhay. Ang KDP, mabuhay. Heart, Angel. Apolinario Esber, saludo ko sa malasakit ninyo sa bansa. Bilib ako sa lawak ng inyong kalaman sa mga political at economic issues. Isa lang pintas ko sa inyo, takot kayong kantiin si Duterte. Chuck Roof.
Dapat, Apolinario Esber, dapat panuorin mo na yung aming mga nakaraan mga programa. No? Ngayon, hindi naman kailangan kantiin ng presidente. Pero yung mga programa namin dito sa channel na ito, panoorin mo, makikita mo kung paano namin na-address ang mga problema.
See? Jack Roof, the state is the people and is supreme to implement Articles 17 and 18. Go Chuck! Love it. Louise Gerald, good evening po Sir Butch and Attorney Harold. GEV Javier, hi from Tagum City. That is it.
Okay. So, magpaalam ka na, anak.
Oh, Butch, what a first episode! You gave me a lot, you threw a lot to me, and I hope I catch all of them. All right, I look forward to our next episode next week. I hope you enjoyed our episode tonight. I hope I made an impression, and I hope that you will be back next week.
No, that's right. So, hanggang next week po, babalik po sa atin every week, every Friday at about this time, 8:30. And then alam nyo po, since wala tayong programa until after 9:30, pwede pong humaba ng humaba yun dahil katulad ngayon, tumagal tayo ng gusto. No? But I enjoyed it personally, just being here and listening to Harold explain all of these things. And then I hope you enjoyed it the same way I did. No? So maraming salamat sa iyo.
What an honor, Butch. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Roxanne.
So we'll see you next week.
See you.
Dito sa Respishow.
Show!